Dominic, and I was sort of debating in my head whether I wanted to tell sort of the first day I met Dominic's story, or the day after day when Dominic would eat fish sticks with a little cartoon on the carton. But I want to tell you about the first day that I met him. We didn't have any money, so we were graduate students. So I met Dominic when we were both graduate students in Cornell in Ithaca in 1990. And so we probably got together in August or September, and the labor economics program is a relatively small program, so there were probably 5 or 6 of us that gathered in this room with a professor, and I think it was George Jacobson, who was sort of giving us an idea of what it is, what is it that you'll be doing. And so he said, you're going to be studying labor economics, so you're going to be reading, from Varian and Killingsworth and Aaron Bergen-Smith. This is the Aaron Berg from Aaron Bergen-Smith. And he'd say, have any of you read any of these books? And every time he'd mention a book, Dominic would raise his hand, and he'd be like, ew, I've read that. and sometimes, so this was originally, George was like, well, have you read it? And then sometimes Dominic would just sort of raise his hand, and he would get called on. And he'd say, well, I don't really have anything to say, but I think I've read the next book that you're going to mention. So I decided that I did not like Dominic, because he sort of fit what I'm sure is just a terrible stereotype about snooty British people, which I know is not the case, but just the stereotype that I had. I grew up in Vermont, and we don't meet any British people, so in my head. But Dominic, as it turned out, is incredibly charming and incredibly engaging guy, and has become my oldest friend. And although he's incredibly charming and incredibly engaging, he was not always the happiest guy in graduate school. And I don't think that Calvin deserves all of the credit. I think the sunshine helps. But finding Calvin has just been a great thing, and it's been really nice to see them and their relationship. And actually, the first time I met Calvin, I discovered that he has an encyclopedic knowledge of 80s music, which it rivals but does not exceed mine. But it's been really great to get to know them together, and if you spend any time with them, you just see that they just kind of work. So it's a real honor to be here to celebrate their relationship, and it's a long time coming for them, and it's a long time coming for gay and lesbian couples in California. So, cheers.
Following on from that story, by some weird quirk of fate, my friend Dominic's tutor at Oxford is my husband. He's sitting in the back, and he said to me, yes, Dom actually did read all of those people before he got to Cornell. There you go. The next speaker today is Calvin's friend, Angie. She can come forward, please.
So, as Calvin is fond of referring to me, I'm one of his oldest friends, and by that I hope he means not in age, but in duration. We first met in the 80s. And by a somewhat fascist interpretation of freedom of speech, I've been expressly forbidden from speaking about much of the 80s. But I can tell you that when I met Calvin, he was a tall, gangly thing, probably about a half a foot taller than he is now, as he had this long hair that was in a pompadour that was kind of curly on the top, like a broccoli plant. As those of you who know and love Calvin, you'll understand why I have always referred to Calvin as my little black rain cloud. So Calvin, there is a dark lining to any story Calvin will find it. And he will skewer it with his assertive wit. And in fact, Calvin's attitude towards life and romance in these, what I would call the Calvin BD days, Calvin before Dom, his attitude towards life and romance could be summarized by a series of different titles of Morrissey songs. I'm glad there's an 80s reference happening. Yay, I think nobody's going to get this. A series of titles of Morrissey songs, old and golden ditties like "The world is full of crashing bores," "Life is a pigsty," and one of the best, "There's a place in hell for me and my friends." But then, once upon a time, Calvin found his Prince Charming, and things changed. Now, he's still a little black rain cloud, but he's a happy little man. And his attitude has changed, the tune is different, the lyrics go still like a Morrissey song, but a little more like this. If a double-decker bus crashes into us, to die by your side with a happy little should kill the both of us, to die by your side. The pleasure and the privilege is mine. This is Calvin AD, Calvin Afterglow, the happy little black rain cloud. Now they say that marriage is a triumph of optimism over experience. And so with that, I would like to thank Dom, Mr. Optimism, for making my Calvin, my little black rain cloud, so very happy. And I would like to propose a toast to optimism.
All right, and victim number 3. We have Hector Espinosa.
Surprise, surprise.
You were great the first time.
Somebody just said I was great the first time, now I'm going to disappoint the second time. Greetings all. I first got to know Dominic, I guess, about 12 years ago as an undergraduate student at UCLA with his brief stint there. And you know, this is a time when a time when he had a little bungalow in Venice, very small place, and he certainly has come very far since then. And you know, one of the things that, looking back on 12 years, doesn't seem like that long given the history that he has with the number of people in this room, but he has an uncanny ability to, I think at least, make people feel like they're a part of it, kind of to touch people and to make them feel inclusive. He's done that with me, he's done that with a number of you all over the place. The kind of person that can go into a room, not know anybody, and leave with a handful of new acquaintances. And no better example of that than the people here today, right? I mean, I think the people are a collection of different parts of his life. From graduate school, right? We have Dan, who spoke with earlier on, Aaron. We have his time at Rand. I think I saw Mary Ann in the back, Kathy over here, UCLA. I'll represent that. Carlos in the back with the hand up over there, and a number of his colleagues at USC. But the point of it is, it's no coincidence that we're all here gathered for their wedding, because he does have that ability. It's something that nobody knows better than Calvin. And though Calvin may disagree with my characterization of how wonderful Dom is, you're already married. So I'd like to, at the very least, since this isn't a roast, propose a toast on the rhyming theme to both of you, to the future today, tomorrow, and to always. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
And now we have Simon, Calvin's friends.
Okay, I have no cards, so. Calvin and I actually met during residency when I got a very serious page from a concerned intern about how our clinic schedule was going to work. I went upstairs to meet my new colleague, Calvin Yu, and was surprised to be greeted by a 6-foot guy with a big fro. I went on to work with Calvin many times during his internship and our residency, and as you've learned, his love for 80s music and our mutual love for 80s music and our ability to be bitter about everything from the sandwiches in the cafeteria to our latest patient's illness or affliction brought us very close together. We actually spent many hours on the phone talking about the dramas of our life and rehashing all of the anger and bitter days of the world. And if that wasn't enough, Calvin subsequently moved into my building, down the hall and 1 floor down. But we still spent most of our time on the phone because God forbid either one of us got out of our beds to actually walk to each other. I'd often hear Calvin screaming at the neighbor to turn his TV down, and I was comforted that my friend was nearby and taking care of us. But through all of the drama that we've had, I think what people see in Calvin is that he actually loves life. As bitter as he can be, he loves to laugh and finds humor in everything that can be negative, everything. And we've laughed a lot together. So when Calvin met Dom, there actually wasn't a lot of drama. Dom actually brought a very peaceful stability and love into Calvin's life, and created a wonderful peace for him that I think he had never had before. As we met Dom, we learned and saw what Calvin loved in him. Dom was intelligent, or is intelligent, as he's still around. He's articulate, he's witty, and he opened Calvin's heart and mind to politics, world travel, economics, fine food and wine. But Calvin enriched Dom's life as well. He opened his eyes to his obsession with Michelle Kwan, Spandau Ballet, Dawson's Creek, and comic books. They have a perfect balance. So today, Calvin and Dom have actually overcome 2 big hurdles. It was only in 1967, so many of our lifetimes, that the Supreme Court declared the law prohibiting interracial marriage unconstitutional, ending race-based legal restrictions. And just this summer in California, as we all know, the court opened marriage to all of us, regardless of gender or sexuality. So I'm just proud and privileged to be a part of it, and I'm proud that I've been able to witness their love and their union and their ability to overcome these hurdles. And I'm proud to be in an era when my children can live life as they choose and with whomever they choose. So Cal and Dom have come together, taken a step forward, and hopefully a step forward to our society that sticks. So with that, I'd say, please let's all raise our glasses to lifelong happiness and a growing love to Calvin and Dom.
So I made a video to commemorate today because in 8 days this wedding may be null and void. So I initially wanted to get some pictures of Dominic and myself as kids and growing up in Montreal, but discovered that actually Dominic and I both hate getting our pictures taken. So between the 2 of us, we didn't have enough pictures to fill even one rhythmic song, which if you know the rhythmics, it's always 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I want to thank all of you for contributing your own pictures. You all answered my SOS email. I have pictures of most people in here and some additional ones of Dominic and myself. But A couple of events happened during the last month when I was putting this together, which affected the outcome of this video. One of them was that I turned 40 actually this month. You know, usually at the age of 40 you try to, you know, look into your life and really try to find out if you're doing what you want to be doing when you were, you know, younger and more impressionistic. And I have to say, and I want to give a thanks to my Kaiser colleagues, working at the HIV clinic at Kaiser and the infectious disease clinic and the IC clinic at Angie really enables me to get up in the morning. In the last 2 years, we helped FDA approve the clinical trials 2 brand new HIV medications that saved a lot of our patients' lives. So I want to thank Dr. Hong, Ray Johnson, Ken Gould, who started the clinic, Angie Peterson, Cheryl Godfrey, Lee Tang, and Dory Osborne. October happens to be AIDS Awareness Month as well, which kind of reinforced how far we've gone in science in terms of treating HIV. It's no longer a death sentence. And it reminded me of my UC Irvine days when I actually was with Angie. There's a reason for the little black thing. I had volunteered at the AIDS Health Services at UC Irvine, which at the time was a little home wall in the student center. And in there was a file cabinet with a bunch of names of people with AIDS who were too weak to go shopping, so we delivered groceries to them. They were too weak to drive themselves to their doctor's appointments, usually at UC Irvine Medical Center. So I did both for a while, got to know 2 people especially pretty well, and unfortunately they did not make it through the epidemic. And you know, now it's unfortunate that they had AIDS at that point, because now we could probably save them. One thing that sort of hasn't changed is some of the social attitudes towards people with HIV or people that are gay. 10 years, if you fast forward 10 years from 1988, when I first volunteered in 1998, there was an incident with Matt Shepard. For those of you who don't know, Matthew Shepard was a kid in Wyoming who, I guess his classmates thought it would be a good idea to tie him up to a barbed wire fence, and they basically tortured him to death. And his murder did not instigate any laws outlawing hate crimes. It did, Wyoming basically didn't respond to that. I'd like to say things have gotten better in exactly 10 years. It's actually the 10-year anniversary of his death today in October. But that same hatred and fear and ignorance really is just, ironically, like HIV itself, mutated slightly and has come up to the form of Proposition 8. So we're asking you to vote no on Proposition 8 for those of you who live in California. And this video has everything I just mentioned. This video, as a consequence, is not just about me and Dom. It's about basic human civil rights. It's about how hate and intolerance is still in our society, but we're at a crossroads in American history at this point. In about 8 days, we have a choice to try to move forward and include unity and acceptance for all diversities, or we can continue to slide backwards and perpetuate the hatred and fear. So I hope everyone makes a decision that's comfortable with your heart. So this is the